Hey everybody, this is Jess from Sweaty Ganesh Yoga. We're just going to do a short video today on hip stacking. So the idea of taking one hip above the other hip in certain postures. So we're going to start by talking about Warrior 2. It's the posture we often do in vinyasa classes. And there's a common misconception that when you go into Warrior 2, you want to have both hips open just like this, facing forward. Anatomically, that is possible for some people whose femurs sit in their hip joints at more of this angle. But for most people whose hip joints aren't like that, it's going to be really difficult to open up the hips like that and also feel really stable with those. So to get your posture stable, when you're coming into Warrior 2, you want to look for a few things. You want to look for what's happening with the pelvis itself and making sure that it's neutral. So you don't want it tipped with one hip higher than the other. So here my right hip is higher. Here I've got the left hip higher. I also don't want it tipped back like this or tipped forward. So I'm looking for the place that the pelvis is not straight. And then I'm looking for the place here where my knee is lined up with my third toe. For most people, when we have weaker outer hips and tight inner thighs, the knee starts to come in like this. And this is actually really unstable over time. So to correct for this, again, we first look pelvis neutral, and then we get the knee to line up with the third toe by pressing it out toward the pinky toe. And then for some people, to make that action happen, we have to move this hip forward to get this knee to go back. So as you set up in your Warrior 2, you're looking for these things. It's okay, as you notice, my right hip is a little bit in front of my left hip, and that's okay because this is my stable and solid position for this posture. So then if you take that position of your hips from Warrior 2, so here you are in your Warrior 2, okay, looking like here, my right hip is slightly in front of my left. If you were to come in a balance pose like Ardha Chandrasana or half moon pose, you're looking for the same position to stack your hips, which is going to keep you, again, really stable. So if I were to move into half moon pose, I'm looking for the place here where the arch of my foot is lifted, my outer hip is turned down, and I've got the hips stacked in the same way that they were stacked in Warrior 2. So my foot is not all the way back behind here like this. My hips are not fully open in this direction because that becomes unstable. I'm doing wavering here now. And I'm using my low back instead of my outer hips to hold. So I'm looking for the place as I move it forward here. Same position of the hips as I had them in Warrior 2. One on top of the other, but this one is going to be slightly forward so that I'm nice and stable. I got the belly engaged, I got the outer hips engaged, and I might be able to balance here and hold the posture with stability. So this is the place that you're looking for in this pose. So one of the ways that we can look at building outer hip strength, which is going to help you with your hip stacking and things like Warrior 2 and balance poses like Ardha Chandrasana, is to use an exercise ball and TheraBand. This is how this is going to go. So we're going to do some squats on the wall with that ball, but first we're going to tie your legs together with the TheraBand. You can get these anywhere. They're not super expensive. Any sporting goods store ought to have them. So you're going to tie this TheraBand together with your legs together. About like that. I recommend tying it in a bow and not a knot, so you can undo it when you're done. Okay, so that's together here somewhere on my middle thighs or so. And I'm tying it together when my legs are together. Then I'm going to take this ball on the wall, and you're going to put the middle section of your back on the ball and step your feet forward so they're about hip width distance apart. And then even here you can play around with squeezing the legs and the knees outward, which ought to activate your outer hips. You can already kind of feel that here. So the band's purpose is to serve for you squeezing the legs out so you can activate the outer hips as we start to come down to the squat. So from right here, your ball is on the middle of your back. You're going to draw the arms forward, sitting down, and as you come down, you're driving the knees apart, away from each other, again, to keep the outer hips engaged and active as you come in and out. Now, it's less important how many of these you do and more important with how you do them. So I encourage you to breathe steadily and to go slowly so you really build that awareness of what it is that we are turning on right here in the outer hips. So go inhale, and then exhale. You can do that a few times. And if we can get the outer hips turned on, so for those of you more interested in that, we're looking at particularly the glute medius and the glute minimus right about here. Get these turned on, they're much more likely to fire it for your yoga poses, and they'll also lead to much more graceful aging as you stay stable as we start to get a little bit older.